modes of nature. And so therefore the Upanishads are part of the Vedas. And that's what we're trying to, so we've established the authority of what we're reading. Then the next thing is the invocation, which establishes the qualities of the absolute truth. And that means that they're complete. They don't need anything. Everything that's taken away from them, it can't be taken away from them because they are that. You know what I mean? And so everything's Purnam, everything's complete. And even though we give something away and it's gone, but he gives something away, the absolute truth, and he's still got it because he's actually there as well. And then we spoke about, okay, now we know what the qualities of the absolute truth is. So then the next mantra, which was mantra 1, first mantra actually, it starts to explain that, okay, so everything should be used according to the direction of the owner of everything. And that's the absolute truth. And this is called Isha Vasya. Isha means controller. Isha Vasya principle. And this is the principle of devotional service. So now we discussed how the world's in such a mess because everybody's trying to use it for themselves. And therefore, it's like a cake. If you cut the cake into pieces, everybody's trying to take more than what their share is. But if everybody is prepared to, offer the cake to the Supreme, then that's the proper way to do it. Everybody wants more than the share of the cake. Okay. So now we're on to mantra 2. So we can recite this. I'll recite it and you can just read it anyway, and I'll just recite it. It's good to recite it all together, but we're online and it might be a bit awkward, that's all. Kurvan evaha karmani vijivisach chatam samaha evam tvainanyate tosti na kama lipyate nare. Translation. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. What is that way? It's avasham. Use it. In other words, for the absolute truth's benefit. And we've established that the absolute truth is a person because we have personality. So therefore, it should be included in the absolute truth. And that, personality is superior to anything impersonal. It takes personality to actually organize. It takes personality to create. It takes personality to make, to combine things, to make things. Things just don't work without that personal touch. Okay. So we're going to take it in turns to read. So maybe Jai Krishna, would you like to read first paragraph? Prabhu?
Yep, okay, I've just got it here. Okay, the first paragraph in the purport.
Yeah.
No one wants to die. Everyone wants to live as long as he can drag on. This tendency is visible not only individually, but also collectively in a community, society, and nation. Struggle like all kinds of living entities. The Vedas say that this is quite natural. The living being is eternal by nature. Due to his bondage in material existence, he has to change his body over and over. This process is called transmigration of the soul, or karma bandhana, bondage by one's work. The living entity has to work for his livelihood. because that is how the law of material nature. And if he does not act according to his prescribed duties, he transgresses the laws of nature and binds himself more and more to the cycle of birth and death in the many species of life.
I think everybody can appreciate that. In the spiritual world, we don't have to work. The only reason we're working is because we want the result. If we don't want the result, then we can engage it in Krishna's service, and Krishna takes care of his devotees. In the early days, Prabhupada was approached by many people, and they were envious that, the devotees seemed to have the best of everything, but they weren't doing anything. And Prabhupada said, well, come and join us then. That's the easy solution. But no, people are attached. They want to enjoy. That's the thing. And but they don't know how to enjoy. That's the point. So therefore, it's a hard struggle just to get the least, every little drop of enjoyment we think we're enjoying. We have to work like anything. Okay, Tushar. Is it Tushars? Or Tushar?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Other life forms are also subject to the cycle of birth and death. But when the living entity attains a human life, he gets a chance to get free from the chains of karma. Karma, akarma, and vikarma are very clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita. Actions that are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the revealed scriptures, are called karma. Actions that are free from the cycle of birth and death are called akarma. And actions that are performed through the misuse of one's freedom and that direct one to the lower life forms are called vikarma. Of these three types of action, that which frees one from bondage to karma is preferred by intelligent men. Ordinary men wish to perform good work in order to be recognized and achieve some higher status in life, in this world or in heaven. But more advanced men want to be free altogether from the actions and reactions of work. Intelligent men well know that both good and bad work equally bind one to the material miseries. Consequently, they seek that work which will free them from the reactions of both good and bad work. Such liberating work is described here in the pages of the Isopanisad. Hare Krishna.
I'll just share the screen, actually. There we are. We're on to mantra 2. Oh, that's a connection. Mantra 1 talks about the Savasyan principles. And mantra 2 describes, this is not the one, just a minute. Here we are. And mantra 2 describes the result of working in that principle means that, we're actually making progress in life and our life is useful. But, what's the point in living a long life if we're doing everything wrong? And as we've said, there's 3 types of karma. We're performing vikarma. Vikarma means things which are harmful to us. So it's better, Prabhupada said, better a short life and do a little bit of the right thing than a long life of, nonsense. He said, the trees live for thousands of years, but what good is it, You can't do anything. but we have a human form, we can. Okay, so there's there they are, the 3 types of karma. Vikarma, selfish activities. But karma bandhana means bondage to this world. Karma. That means working according to Shastras, but we want to enjoy this world. Or at least we do it under license, proper license. So we don't become degraded, we maintain this position and get some tertiary enjoyment in the result. And then our karma is our niche karma, means engagement, everything in the devotional service of the Lord. And I've just put a note at the side that is called yukta vairagya in the nature of devotion. Yukta means engagement and vairagya means engagement with detachment. We do the same things, but we're not attached to the result. And then it explains a little bit what we've just mentioned. So we'll go on to the reading. There's not a lot to say. It's pretty self-explanatory. And if anybody has any things, just, put your hand up. There's a hand on the, you can press at the bottom of the screen and you can put, the hand will come up, a yellow hand like this. I'm not for to see it if you put your own hand up, that's what I'm saying. Because when I've got this shared screen, I can only see so many people at a time. Yeah. Okay, so next one. Who's next to read? Samsung SMT 225. So this is, sorry, you're the Barnsley lad, is that right?
I am, yeah. I'm sorry, I can't get my hand up. 1 second. I had lots of problems last week as well. I must apologise for leaving before we got started, really.
All right, don't worry.
I'm just trying now to find it. Right, I can't see my own camera here at all.
All right, we'll come back. When you find it, we'll come back.
Okay.
So next one is Sita Takarani and Roy, is it?
Oh, Dom.
What is it?
It is Dom. Okay. The instructions of Sri Upanishad are more elaborately explained in Bhagavad Gita, sometimes called Gita Upanishad, the cream of all Upanishads. In Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says that one cannot attain the state of Nishkama or Akarma without executing the prescribed duties mentioned in Vedic literatures, Bhagavad Gita 3:9-16. The Vedas can regulate the working energy of a human being in such a way that one can gradually realize the authority of the Supreme Being. When one realizes the authority of the personality of Godhead, it is to be understood that he has attained the stage of positive knowledge. On this purified stage, the modes of nature, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, cannot act, and one is enabled to work on the basis of Nishkama. Such work does not bind one to the cycle of birth and death.
Okay. Yeah, so that's our problem. There's 3 subjects of the Bhagavad Gita. One is knowledge, one is renunciation, and one is bhakti. So, it's difficult to, give up something if we're so attached, as I think we all can attest to. We've got certain habits that we just can't get rid of, certain attachments which are just too strong. So out of these 3, knowledge, vairagya or detachment, renunciation, and bhakti. Bhakti is the easiest because it's a positive process. If we have something which gives us some pleasure, we'll naturally do it, or at least we get some, we're getting an activity anyway. We're active and it's a satisfying activity. Then we'll give up the lower activity. So this is the principle of devotional service. That don't worry too much about the attachments, just increase your actual devotional service. And then you'll push out the tendency to want to enjoy material things. So one's a negative process, which the Gyan is they don't have bhakti, they just have knowledge. So they can understand that they shouldn't be attached to this world, and they try to renounce it prematurely. But there's nothing to hang on to, so that, you know, they just go back to trying to enjoy the material world. But a devotee, he has the taste of bhakti, he has the association of devotees. You know, everything's actually joyful. He has kirtan, he has prasadam. So Krishna is offering something where we enjoy but become renounced. And we just have to stick at it long enough so that we get in the groove, so to say. We just get used to doing these things. This is by, you know, following particular rules and regulations. Then eventually it becomes natural, more natural than trying to enjoy material things. And then a taste and attachment will eventually come very quickly. So we should be aware of that. Don't become frustrated, but, you know, just increase your actual service or the quality of your service. You know, we're actually connecting things to a person. It's a service to a person. We're trying to please a person. And if we keep trying to do that, eventually we will actually please that person so much that he'll actually reveal himself. But we have to be tenacious in the beginning and carry on, even though, you know, things are not happening straight away. Okay, so it's not read now, it's Sandeep. Prabhu, would you like to read?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Swamiji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop putative work. A conditioned soul is submitted to working for sense gratification, for his own selfish interest, immediate or extended. An ordinary man works for his own senses enjoyment, and when this principle of sense enjoyment is extended to include his society, nation, or humanity in general, it assumes various attractive names such as altruism, socialism, communism, nationalism, and humanitarianism. These isms are certainly very attractive form of karma bandhana, karmic bondage, but the Vedic instruction of Shri Isopanisad is that if one actually wants to live for any of above isms, he should make them God-centered. Sorry. There is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist, a socialist, a communist, a nationalist, or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Visavasya, the God-centered conception.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so that is called extended selfishness. Although it seems like we've been actually good to other people, or good to our society, or like that, it's actually not doing anybody any good in the long run. But we shouldn't become confused that if somebody's got that tendency, we should encourage it if they're not in devotional service. Because then that giving propensity, when they connect with devotional service, will help them to more easily practice selfless service. But on its own, all these isms are actually zero. There's no benefit at all. We're actually just increasing people's vikarma. If they're not aware of the laws of God, and we just actually feed their sense gratification, then we're doing them great harm. So that's what this is speaking about. We can add anything to devotional service. And then what will happen is the material side will eventually become burnt away, and the spiritual side will take over. Okay, thank you, Sandy. So I've got a telephone number here. 883986366915. Would you like to read? Maybe you can, maybe if it's possible to change the titles for next week.
Excuse me, Maharaj, this is Mayapur Chandrodaya from Czech, and I just joined to listen now, and I don't have text with me, so I apologize. Next time I will fix it. I will fix it next time, also the name. Thank you.
Right. Did Sita Takarani read, Mataji?
I'll read.
Bhagavad Gita.
In the Bhagavad Gita, 240.
Yeah.
In the Bhagavad Gita 240, Lord Krishna states that God-centered activities are so valuable that just a few of them can save a person from the greatest danger. The greatest danger of life is the danger of gliding down again into the evolutionary cycle of birth and death among the 8,400,000 species. If somehow or other a man misses the spiritual opportunity afforded by his human form of life and falls down again into the evolutionary cycle, he must be considered most unfortunate. Due to his defective senses, a foolish man cannot see that this is happening. Consequently, Sri Isopanisad advises us to exert our energy in the spirit of Ishavasya. Being so engaged, we may wish to live for many, many years. Otherwise, a long life in itself has no value. A tree lives for hundreds and hundreds of years, but there is no point in living a long time like trees, or breathing like bellows, or begetting children like hogs and dogs, or eating like camels. A humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of a life dedicated to godless or altruism or socialism.
Oh, that's more or less making the same point, which we've already discussed. Okay. Maya Purishpuri Mataji, have you read?
When altruistic activities are executed in the spirit of Sri Isopanisad, they become a form of karma yoga. Such activities are recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 18:5-9, for they guarantee their executor protection from the danger of sliding down into the evolutionary process of birth and death. Even though such God-centered activities may be half-finished, they are still good for the executor because they will guarantee him a human form in his next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation.
Yeah, so we also mentioned that. We follow Shastra. That's what most people are doing, actually, when we talk about religion. It's not a spiritual activity as such, because they're not aware that they're not the body, most people, 99%. They're not aware what the position of the soul is, what to speak of the super soul. So therefore, they're performing a materialistic form of pious activities which are recommended in scripture for those who are materially attached. Well, in Bhagavad Gita, they call it karma, or karma yoga, karma kanda, materialistic activities according to Shastra. And then they remain in the human form of life, and they remain purified enough to eventually become disgusted with what they're doing and understand a higher principle, which is what the Upanishads is here for. Remember, we said it's like the headlines, and people, may be attracted by that particular headline. Okay, Robert Green. Do you have any Upanishad? Is that Goranam? Maybe.
Can I read?
Who spoke then?
Sandeep. Yeah.
Sandy.
It's the last para. Can I read this?
You read the last one?
Yeah.
So let's see if anybody wants to read who hasn't read. Jack, would you like to read? Okay, we'll go back to the beginning. We'll go back to Jai Krishna again.
Okay. How one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Isopanisad.
So we'll talk about if anybody wants to eventually move on to the Nectar of Devotion, we can do that in the future. But you know, there's 4 books that we specially read. That's this one, Isopanisad, Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion and Nectar of Instruction. And these are the books which form the basis primarily of the Bhakti Shastri. So what we're doing now, we're actually doing Bhakti Shastri material, but we're not being asked to study on it and, you know, take tests. So that's the end of so we've just completed what is, you know, the activities of one who follows this Savasyan principle. And so now we're going on to the results of somebody who doesn't follow the Savasya principle. Asurya namate loka andena tamasa vritaha tamste pret yadikachanti yeke chatmahana janaha. The killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So, Tusha Prabhu, you can read.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There's a Prabhuji with Sitarani Mataji who missed out on reading. Does he want to read?
Yeah, if she wants.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Prabhuji, do you want to read?
Shiva? I don't know who's talking. Who's supposed to be reading?
Anyway, you read now and then you give it time to collect yourself. You can read
It
now.
was a bit confusing, sorry. Okay, purport. Human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in the spirit are called suras, godly persons, and those who are neglectful of these responsibilities or who have no information of them are called asuras, demons. Throughout the universe, there are only these 2 types of human being. In the Rig Veda, it is stated that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu and act accordingly. Their ways are illuminated as the path of the sun.
Yes, so we have the Rig Veda, Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Vedantyat Suraya. So, you know, it says that the suras always aim at the lotus feet of the Lord, and the asuras avoid the lotus feet of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 17th chapter, Arjuna asks the final question. He says the Bhagavad Gita is actually finished in 16 chapters. But Arjuna says, well, he's talking about somebody who doesn't accept the Vedas, or doesn't read the Vedas, or doesn't follow them at least. But he manufactures his own process of going forward, because earlier on in the Bhagavad Gita, it says one who, in the 7th chapter, one who, you know, becomes attached to a certain process and follows it, he can obtain the result. And later on in the Bhagavad Gita, it says only by devotional service. So it's confused. And so some people may fall in between, thinking that they can actually follow a particular process with determination. And so this 17th chapter is tidying up that loose end. And the conclusion is, if you read the last few verses, it's that you know, anything which is done as a sacrifice, anything at all, if it's not done for the satisfaction of the absolute truth, then it's a complete waste of time. Om Tat Sat. This means it must be performed for the benefit of Krishna. And he says this human form of life. Anyway, we'll read about that next. So maybe Tush, would you like to read next?
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Intelligent human beings must always remember that the soul obtains a human form after an evolution of many millions of years in the cycle of transmigration. The material body is sometimes compared to an ocean, and the human body is compared to a solid boat designed especially to cross this ocean. The Vedic scriptures and the acharyas, or saintly teachers, are compared to expert boatsmen, and the facilities of the human body are compared to favorable breezes that help the boat ply smoothly to its desired destination. If with all these facilities a human being does not fully utilize his life for self-realization, he must be considered Atmaha, a killer of the soul. Sri Isopanisad warns in clear terms that the killer of the soul is destined to enter into the darkest region of ignorance to suffer perpetually. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so this is an important paragraph. We cannot estimate how fortunate we are to have this opportunity. We've got a human form of life. It doesn't matter whether it's a good-looking one, a bad-looking one. We've got the human intellect to reason. No matter whether we're rich or poor. This is the real wealth. In this particular one, it says the material world sometimes compared to the ocean. The human body is compared to a solid boat. So there's another passage in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is slightly different from this one. It says the Vedic literatures and acharyas and sentences are compared to expert boatmen. So in the Bhagavatam, you'll find it says that the Vedic scriptures are compared to favorable breezes, and the saintly teachers are compared to favorable breezes. And the expert boatman is compared to the spiritual masters. So it's just a technical difference. There's no real difference anyway. And the human body is a boat by which to cross over the material existence. You see, there were a monkey earlier on. I've seen this one. Look at that. So it's a little bit of a, that's what we are if we don't use it for self-realization. You know what I mean? Okay. So we'll move on to Sandeep again.
Sandeep.
Yes, Swamiji. There are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are just as important to them as ours are to us. But the economic problems of these animals are solved only under nasty and unpleasant conditions. The human being is given all facilities for a comfortable life by the laws of nature, because the human form of life is more important and valuable than animal life. Why is man given a better life than that of the swine and other animals? Why is a highly placed government servant given better facilities than those of any ordinary clerk? The answer is that the highly placed officer has to discharge duties of a higher nature. Similarly, the duties human beings have to perform are higher than those of animals, who are always engaged in simply feeding their hungry stomachs. Yet, the modern soul-killing civilization has only increased the problem of the hungry stomach. When we approach a polished animal in the form of a modern civilized man and ask him to take interest in self-realization, he will say that he simply wants to work to satisfy his stomach and that there is no need of self-realization for a hungry man. The laws of nature are so cruel, however, that despite his denunciation of need of his self-realization and his eagerness to work hard to fill his stomach, he is always threatened by unemployment.
Yeah. I went to, when my father was in hospital, I went to the Rotherham Hospital, and when I came out, I just got in the car and I was just about to drive off, and somebody leant on the door, popped his head through the window. He said, "You don't know where I am, do you?" And actually, it happened to be a friend from many years ago. I couldn't recognise him, but somehow or other he recognised me. Probably because I got all the gear on, you know, the Hare Krishna gear. Probably heard that I'd become a devotee. And I said, "What are you doing now?" He said, "Oh, I'm going to retire in a few years." And I said, "What are you going to do then?" He said, "I'm going to eat myself to death." You know, in other words, the tongue's more ferocious than most ferocious thing. You can't control it. And so that's the way people, this uncontrolled tongue, it takes us into so many abominable situations. So is Mayapurishwar still here? Oh, she's ill. Do you want to read, Mataji?
We are given this human form of life not to work hard like asses, swine, and dogs, but to attain the highest perfection of life. If we do not care for self-realization, the laws of nature force us to work very hard, even though we may not want to do so. Human beings in this age have been forced to work hard, like the asses and bullocks, and pull carts. Some of the regions where the Asuras are sent to work are revealed in the mantra of Sri Isopanisad. If a man fails to discharge his duties as a human being, he is forced to transmigrate to the Asura planets and take birth in degraded species of life to work hard in ignorance and darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the effects of the material energy we said earlier. The more we try to enjoy it, to the degree we try to enjoy this world, to the same degree we'll suffer. If we've got a nice situation, we're really attached to it, then we're going to lose it, so we'll suffer twice as much. So this is the laws of nature. So it says that, a devotee, what's the qualification for being a devotee? I don't know whether I mentioned this last week, actually, maybe. In the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says a devotee, it says one who is not too attached to things and not too detached from things, that's a qualification for being a devotee. Did I mention that last week? No. Yes, so, we're balanced. It's called Yukta Vairagya. There's a couple of verses in the Nectar of Devotion, and it says that one who renounces things which could be used in the service of Krishna is not doesn't really understand the process of renunciation. He's not complete in his renunciation. He's just trying to avoid, everything. But one who sees everything's used in the service of the Lord, then he's actually rightly situated above possessiveness. So we can enjoy the Lord's energy, providing we use it in Krishna's service. That's the point. Okay, and so I think we're down to
Don.
Yeah, Don.
In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated. I heard. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, 641.43, that a man who enters upon the path of self-realization but does not complete the process, despite having sincerely tried for it, is given a chance to appear in a family of Suchi or Srimat. The word Suchi indicates a spiritually advanced Brahmana, and Srimat indicates a Vaishya, a member of the mercantile community. This indicates that the person who vows to realize his relation with God is given a better chance to cultivate self-realization due to his sincere efforts in his previous lives. If even a fallen candidate is given a chance to take birth in a respectable and noble family, one can hardly imagine the status of one who has achieved success. By simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed of birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. However, one who does not even make an attempt, who wants to be covered by illusion, who is too materialistic and is attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkest region of hell, as confirmed in all Vedic literatures. Such materialistic asuras sometimes make a show of religion, but their ultimate aim is material prosperity. Bhagavad Gita rebukes such men, Bhagavad Gita 6, 17, 18. For they are considered great only on the strength of deception and are empowered by the votes of the ignorant and by their own material wealth. Such asuras, devoid of self-realization and knowledge of Ishavasya, the Lord, are certain to enter into the darkest regions.
Yeah, so ignorance is the cause of sin. If we don't know what to do, we'll definitely do the wrong thing, you know. So this is the first, when the creation takes place, one of the first things that's created by Lord Brahma, when Krishna creates all the, or Vishnu creates all the infrastructure, the planetary systems, and all the ingredients, the 24 elements. But then Lord Brahma, he's empowered to use those to create life and variations within the world. But before he does that, the first thing he creates is ignorance. And that then, people are born into that ignorance. And there's two facets, for want of a better word, two facets of ignorance. One is, what's it called now? Avaranaratmika Shakti. This means it's got a covering potency. It actually covers our real knowledge. And Prakshepatmika Shakti. So that's one that we feel, sometimes we're impelled to do things, and we just cannot stop ourselves. The mind's pushing, the body's pushing. There's nothing we can do about it. So this is Prakshepatmika, and this is the modes of nature. So everybody. So this is why we don't, interact with the materialist if he actually becomes aggressive towards us, because he's just being pushed to do it. And our tendency to push back is this Prakshepatmika Shakti. So Bhagavad Gita tells us that, we have to control this lust, anger, and greed. Control it, endeavor to control our nature. And then we can become happy in this world. So it's a matter of practical application as well as following the process of purification by chanting. That's why when we find we're up against some some seeming obstacle, that's a chance to be introspective and see what it is and get rid of it. Otherwise, we never know it's there. Okay. Sita Mataji, can you read?
The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant not simply for solving economic problems on a doctrine platform, but for solving all the problems of the material life into which we have been placed by the laws of nature.
Okay. Any questions on number 3 then? No? So that's it. That's one section. The first was the introduction and invocation. Then I'll just go to it actually. This is a little bit slow, this. There we are. This sets out the 18 verses. So first was introduction, invocation, and then proprietorship and the laws of God. So that's the Isavasyan principle we've just finished now. And the results of following, the results of not following. So now we're going to the next section is the vision of the Mahabhagavat. So we can read that in a different way. We can say that, compared to that, what is the vision of somebody who's a materialist? This is what will be featured in this section here. That, the reason we can't see God and the reason that a person who's on a highest platform of devotional service can always see God. Okay. Let's have a look. Anejak ekam manaso javiyo nainat deva apnuvan purvanasat tadavato nyan atyatitishtat tasmin apo matrishvadadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of Godhead is swifter than the mind and cannot overcome all others running. The powerful demigods cannot approach him. Although in one place he controls those who supply the air and rain, he surpasses all in excellence. Okay. Samsung, would you like to read? Oh, I forgot your name.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's Andy.
Oh, Andy, that's right.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Through mental speculation, even the greatest philosopher cannot know the Supreme Lord, who is the absolute personality of Godhead. He can be known only by his devotees through his mercy. In the Brahma Samhita 5.3.4, it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of wind or the mind of hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. The Brahma Samhita further describes that the absolute personality of Godhead as his transcendental abode known as Goloka, where he remains and engages in his pastimes. Yet, by his inconceivable potency, he can simultaneously reach every part of his creative energy. In the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from a fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat for some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies everywhere.
Yeah. So, you know, at the beginning of creation, the Lord's so powerful that he's called what he calls Satya. Satya means truth. Sankalpa. Satya Sankalpa. It means just by his thinking about something, it happens. That's how the creation takes place. That's all he has to do. And so, you know, in Bhagavad Gita, it makes this point that, forget what it is, Mayata tamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nacham teshva vastitaha. Krishna is saying that by me, in my unmanifested form, all these universes are pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So he's making the point that, you know, everything's in his energy, but he's a person who's different from that energy. And that's how this material world is. But, you know, when we see things, it's Krishna. But it's a certain aspect of Krishna. And we can think about a businessman. I'll see if I can find it this minute. A businessman, you know, he may be a successful businessman, he may have many businesses. But, you know, we can't, he's personally present in that business because everybody's working because they, you know, because they want to get paid. And if they don't do the job, they're frightened they'll lose the job, you know. So his energy is there. It's just so every living entity in this universe, no matter what, they're performing their activities. It's out of fear of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They know they have to follow his instructions. And So that's one understanding. Let's have a look. Yeah, so Krishna spread throughout this. We can see Krishna's energy everywhere. This is one level of understanding. But then we start to see that besides the energy being everywhere, that is guiding us from within. We start to understand how he's organizing our life. This is super soul realization. And eventually that will mature in Bhagavan realization. When we get to a certain stage in devotional service, it's called prema, pure love of God, then Krishna manifests himself before the devotee. But that's not the end. It's explained it later on in the next devotion. There's different stages of prema and activities which go on and on and on, ever increasing. Okay, Andy, thank you. And who hasn't read for a while? Who I missed out? There's a hand up here. It's Jack. Would you like to read Jack? Oh, it's not an hand, it's a sideboard. I thought that was his hand there. Have you got the Isopanisad?
I don't have it with me.
Okay, no problem.
No, it's my first time on Zoom today. I'm a little bit ham-fisted about it.
Okay.
But I'll be a quiet participant for today. I'll find out how to use it properly.
Okay.
I'll bring you a Sri Isopanisad on Saturday, Jack.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have a copy of it somewhere, but do that anyway, because it might be difficult to dig it out. I've got loads and loads of books.
Okay.
Cool.
Who's not?
Thank you.
You want to read?
Sorry, yes, could you, sorry, I've lost where we're up to. Can you just say the first couple of words of the paragraph, please?
Although his energies
Thank you. Yeah, although his energies are innumerable, they can be divided into three principal categories: the internal potency, the marginal potency, and the external potency. There are hundreds and millions of subheadings to each of these categories. The dominating demigods who are empowered to control and administer such natural phenomena as air, light, and rain are all classified within the marginal potency of the absolute person. Lesser living beings, including humans, also belong to the Lord's marginal potency. The material world is the creation of the Lord's external potency, and the spiritual sky, where the kingdom of God is situated, is the manifestation of his internal potency.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a nice verse in the Upanishads, another Upanishad, which explains that Natashakaram Charanam Chavidjate, which means that there's nothing superior to the Supreme Lord. Natat Samas Chabjarikas Chavisjate. Samas means equal, and there's nobody equal to God. And then it says Parashya Shakti Vividai Visurate. That his energies are coming from one source, that's himself, as one energy, but they become many and perform different functions. So, you know, they're both actually spiritual energies, but they're working in a different way. The material energies condition us to forget the Supreme Lord and trying to enjoy one of his inert energies, this material world. And the spiritual energy is engaging us in Krishna's pastimes. It's covering our Krishna from understanding who he really is. That is actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore we according to our spiritual nature, which is revealed in due course, will reciprocate with God on, you know, on a different platform, one of friendship, one of fraternity, in other words, one of parental, one as servant, like that. So these energies are coming from the Supreme Lord. And this is how we can understand that there's nothing separate. The material world exists because we are trying to enjoy separately from God, that's all. And when we're purified, we become under the influence of the internal potency or the spiritual energy. In that way, even while we're in this material world, we're actually seeing things in relationship to Krishna. And we've always got his association. So this is just an extra point I thought I'd add. This has come much later. But, okay. Sandeep, would you like to read?
Thus, the different energies of the Lord are present everywhere. Although the Lord and his energies are non-different, one should not mistake these energies for the supreme truth, nor should one wrongly consider that the Supreme Lord is disturbed everywhere impersonally or that he loses sense. Men are accustomed to reaching conclusions according to their capacity for understanding, but the Supreme Lord is not subject to our limited capacity for understanding. It is for this reason that the Upanishads warn us that no one can approach the Lord by his own limited potency.
Okay. Jai Krishna Prabhu.
In Bhagavad Gita 10.2, the Lord says that not even the great rishis and suras know him. What to speak of the asuras, for whom there is no question of understanding the ways of the Lord. This fourth mantra of Sri Isopanisad very clearly suggests that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. Otherwise, there would have been no need to mention so many details in support of his personal feature.
Okay, next one. Don, can you read?
Start again.
Although they have all the symptoms of the Lord himself, the individual parts and parcels of the Lord's potencies have limited spheres of activity and are therefore all limited. The parts and parcels are never equal to the whole. Therefore, they cannot appreciate the Lord's full potency. Under the influence of material nature, foolish and ignorant living beings, while but parts and parcels of the Lord, try to conjecture about the Lord's transcendental position. Sri Isopanisad warns of the futility in trying to establish the identity of the Lord through mental speculation. One should try to learn of transcendence from a superior source like the Vedas, which already contain knowledge of transcendence.
Yeah. So we're limited importance here, that Krishna is greater in importance, so we can't understand something which is greater than our ability to understand. That's basically what it's saying. Okay. It's just gone 8 o'clock. What do we want to do? There's probably, let's have 1, 2. Oh, there's not so much actually. I'll read for a bit. Every part and parcel of the complete all is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be in Maya, illusion. Why would Krishna want to place a living entity into Maya? It's because the living entity is desiring it. Desires there. He'll only reciprocate with our desire. Thus, from the very beginning of Sri Isopanisad, warns us to be very careful to play the part designated for us by the Lord. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own. Because he is part and parcel of the Lord, he must partake of the initiative of the Lord as well. When a person properly utilizes his initiative or active nature with intelligence, understanding that everything is the Lord's potency, he can revive his original consciousness, which was lost due to the association with Maya, the external energy. All power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies and knowing how these potencies work by his will. These matters are described by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all the Upanishads. Okay, so that's completed. And I just wanted to say one last thing. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's only by, we can only understand Krishna, or Krishna will only, it's not by our austerities, it's not by our learning, it's not by our ability to remember slokas or do so many things in devotional service, even to, hear very nicely, although that's a very big asset. The whole thing is that it should please Krishna. So it's more than what we do, it's what is the motive behind it. And that's the simplicity of devotional service. Why am I doing this? Am I doing it for my own personal enjoyment? Am I doing it to spite somebody else? Or am I actually doing what Krishna wants me to do? And am I actually developing a favorable attitude towards doing that? And that's when we become recognized by Krishna. So, Bhakti Mama Bhagyanati, only by devotional service can I be understood as I am, And potencies, Lord Chaitanya, when after Sankirtan, he got a seed of a mango, stuck it in the ground, and within minutes there was a huge mango tree with all mangoes. And those mangoes were unusual because they didn't have any stones in them. You know what it's like with a mango, you're enjoying the mango and then you hit this really hard stone. There was no stone and there was no skins. And he said, one mango was enough to actually fill the belly of everybody. So every day after Sankirtan, from that day on, they were taking these mangoes. So, this is real potency. And it says that Krishna's got the ability to break the laws of nature. He makes them and he breaks them at his will. Okay. So we go through this last part, we go through the spiritual master. We can, if we really want, we please the spiritual master who's something tangible to us. And because he's a bona fide representative of Krishna, then we please Krishna. And being a spiritual master is not a small thing. It's not like, all Prabhupada's disciples, you stuck a pin in or put the names in a hat and pull them out, see what's going to be a spiritual. It's not like that. They're very, very qualified devotees. You know what I mean? We all like to get... Well, so we'll see next week. And there's a program this weekend in Sheffield, I understand. So I'll be there this weekend.
Yeah, Saturday at 6.
6, yeah.
Good.
So the football season's over, so it'll be plenty of food next to the football ground, I think.
And actually, last month they all cleared out by about 5:30. It was Nottingham Forest v Sheffield United, and Forest won, but they're all gone by 5:30, so it wasn't.
All right. Okay, that's nice to know anyway.
It's literally just across the road from the ground.
Is it?
Yeah. The place where we have the meeting is literally across the road. They blocked the road up and everything because all the away supporters came out down the road. The meetings.
Okay.
You just thought I'd broken off and started talking about football, then.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh,
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Maharaj. Thank you
Krishna,
very much.
thank you.
Very well.
Maharaj ki jai.
Hare
Jai.
Bol.